peace, love. Just checking in on everybody to see how they're handling the drones slash orbs slash plasmoids that are appearing all over the world. If you're not seeing it on the local news or the nightly news, that's because they're not reporting it. They started out reporting it back in early December. Now you don't hear anything about it, except for maybe like on News Nation. I think they're the only ones who really talk about it. But if you go on the internet, now I know the internet, I know people can make things up. I know there's AI, but way before AI even showed up, there were plenty of existing films of different types of orbs and, what might be considered ET aircraft. I mean, it's real, whether we like it or not. The time has come where the country, the world, is going to meet extraterrestrials on some level, and I'm welcoming it. It doesn't. And hitting them is one thing. I don't agree with that either. Okay, certain forms of discipline for kids is needed to some degree, but I'm not even going to get into that. Every parent has their own way of doing things. But when you are sexually abusing a child, or you know of somebody that has, or you've been a person that's been abused, what blows my mind about this is that it still exists. And not only in America, but it's all over the friggin' world. And it's disgusting. And it's ruining our children. It's hurting our children. It's creating pain and anger and fear in our kids that nobody would ever understand except for that child going through that. And I don't understand it at all. It's always bothered me. It's always been something that I get very angry about. My own children, I kept like such an eye on them. I guess I could have been referred to as a helicopter parent to some degree. Anyways, but I don't really care because I wanted to make sure my sons were safe. Because if anybody would have dared put their hands on them in that way, I would be sitting in jail right now. That's all I got to say on that. But what really blows my mind, and it kind of makes me feel like maybe it's time for an intervention of some kind, because human beings can really be horrible. And while I know for a fact that all of us are connected to the higher source, this I know. But once we leave this body and we go back to spirit, anybody who's participated in anything like abusing a child sexually or hurting someone, they're going to feel every bit of the pain that they caused every child in their life. They're going to feel that pain. And that's the only thing that kind of makes me sleep better at night. So if you've ever abused a child, or you know somebody that has, you're going to feel exactly how that felt. It's coming to you. I would recommend that you get yourself some help, or that you realize that no child is asking to be sexually abused. No child. I know there's some people who believe that. Absolutely not. Kids are kids. Okay? Remember when you were a kid? And maybe you were abused as a kid. I don't know. But if you were, then you understand how that feels. You know it's not something joyful for a child. And the shame and the stigma that comes with that is really mind-blowing to me. Because a child's made to feel gross and filthy and embarrassed by what's happened because they don't understand that this adult understands how the human body works. So they know exactly where to touch a child to create a feeling in them that is natural for all of us. But the child doesn't understand that, but the adult knows. So if you're that adult, you better get yourself some help, because I promise you, when the day comes when you meet the higher source, you're going to feel every bit of pain that you've caused every child. I know it's not a delightful subject, and I am a very spiritual being. And when I say that, I mean I really try to follow all the laws of the world, of the universe. I really do. And I know inside that we're all connected and we all have the capability to be forgiven and to change. So I say to you, if you've ever abused a child or you're currently doing that, get yourself some help, make a change. Because that child is not enjoying what you're doing to them. I don't care what you're telling yourself, but they're not. Nothing pisses me off more. And what blows my mind is that it's not just in America. It's all over the place. And it seems to me to be rampant. I don't get it at all. I happened to be watching something about a missing child in Australia, I think it was. And they were talking about this child, this little boy that was missing, unfortunately was never found. And they were speaking to a gentleman who runs a some kind of, not like a YWCA, but some kind of program for abused children. And they're talking to this gentleman, and they're talking about pedophiles. And in Australia, like some states in America, I think most states have it now, but in Australia, they do have a predator list, or what they call a pedophile list, or sexual abuse list, or it's termed different things, okay, but it's a list that you have to register if you are a pedophile or a sexual abuser. Australia also has that. And when they're talking to this gentleman, he makes the remark, oh, well, if you don't think you're in a neighborhood that has them around you, I suggest you look again. So he was inferring that they're all over the place. Just the ones who have to report. Now, if there's that many who are reporting that they are a predator, because they have to report because they've been caught. If there's the ones you know about, how many are there for each one we don't know about? That's what's scary to me. So, for me, we should all be protecting kids, regardless of what's happening. And, there's also another gentleman, and you know what? I should have really thought about this before I came out to talk to you. It just blew my mind when I was watching this program and when this gentleman in Australia said that, because I know that it runs the gamut in other countries. If you look at the Menendez Brothers, who I hope they get out, set the Menendez boys free. They've served enough time. If you look at their case, their father, who was from Cuba, I believe, originally. So somewhere in Cuba that originated for him when he was a child. And then he brought that into his own home life, was abusing his own sons and then other children that he would come in contact with, such as the band Menudo. If anybody's familiar with Menudo, the Menendez father was one of the record executives that would pick and choose those kids. And he molested more than one, I believe. Definitely one he raped that actually came out and told his story. But the point is those two young men who are now my age were so stigmatized by that and called evil and how dare you, we don't believe you, you're just making up a story. I knew that their father had done that to them. I just could tell. And their mother, who's supposed to be protecting them, she was a part of it just as much. She acted like it wasn't going on. She even acted like her kids were in competition with her for her husband's attention. So listen, sexual abuse to children is wrong. It's sick, and it needs to stop. And I'll tell you right now that the world's changing, and there's so much going on now that hadn't been going on maybe 10, 12 years ago. The veil is lifting. What does that mean? It means there's a spiritual veil that we all can't really see through, or most of us can't. Some of us can, some of us very well. But this veil stops you from seeing other dimensions or things outside of your I don't know what I want to say, how I want to say this. It's just outside of what we can see. Okay, so there's certain dimensions. Okay, they say there's up to 6 dimensions. And we're living in the 3D reality right now, really, or 2-dimensional, I think they call us. But in any event, we can't see something that's in a higher dimension or a higher frequency because it vibrates at a higher level, be it some type of other being or another human who may be passed on, now they're a spirit. We don't vibrate as humans every day on that higher level. Now we can learn to do that, but most people don't know how to do that. And you do that through meditation. And that's a way of connecting with yourself and your higher self. And when you do that, you don't have the need or want to hurt somebody or have this need or want to for sexual gratification by means of somebody that's smaller and and much more easier for you to get a hold of and manipulate. I mean, anybody that's doing that to your child, you know that's what you're doing, right? You're manipulating them. You're not loving them. So if that's what you're telling yourself, no, you have a problem. Get yourself some help. Because I can't think of anything more disgusting than people who molest kids, have sex with kids, rape children. Really, that's what it is rape. And, we try to put that term molesting on there and, kind of tone it down a little bit. It's rape. It's rape. So anybody that's raping children, okay, you have a problem. And I don't care what excuse you make. And I don't care if you try to say the child did it and the child turned you on and the child was trying to date you and love you and the child was the one that approached you. Bull crap. Children need to be kept safe. They need to be allowed to be kids. And if you're a kid that happens for some reason to be watching this, honey, you're important. And you're loved. And there's adults who would never, ever do anything to hurt you. So if you're being abused, please tell a teacher at school, tell a coach, tell an aunt, tell an uncle, tell as many people as you can to get you out of that situation. Because nobody should have to live like that. No child should. And it's not just America. It's all over the friggin' world, man. It's like a nasty, disgusting disease. And these people who do it cannot control themselves. I mean, I know for a fact that there's pedophiles all over the web. All over the dark web. And what scares me is people say, well, yeah, there's websites for that. And people can get on there. That's one thing if you're running a website. You're probably looking for a way to make money. What really scares me, though, is all the people that you're drawing to that website that actually want to participate in watching child pornography and participate in some way with the abuse with these kids. I don't understand that. You'll never make me understand that. And I know there are people who work on trying to shut down these websites. And there is a man in particular that I know that's been on the Shawn Ryan show. And again, I forgot his name. This young man was fantastic. I'm going to think of it, and I'm going to tell you next time. But look him up. He was on the Shawn Ryan show. Just look up Shawn Ryan and then look up predator websites, and something should come up with this interview with this gentleman. And this young man, just really, not because it was his job. He just had a friend who asked him how, if they could help him figure out where this website came from that somebody that they knew had access to. So he looked into it, and then before he knew it, he was down this rabbit hole of all these different types of websites that, give you child pornography or actual child movies, whatever it is they put on these disgusting websites. And these kids are being brutalized. I mean, they're being brutalized. You gotta be freaking kidding me. And everybody's participating in this by either doing it or watching it or communicating with these scumbags on there and getting pornography from them or still pictures, whatever the fuck they're getting. It's disgusting, no matter which way you cut it. So I really wanted to talk tonight about UFOs and, spiritual stuff, but that just bothered me today. So if you're a parent that loves your kids and you're good to your kids, God bless you for doing the best you can. If you're a pervert that's molesting kids, you better get yourself some help. Because I promise you, when the end comes, you're going to feel every little bit of anger and pain you ever caused any other child, any hurt you've ever caused. You're going to feel it tenfold. Well, I'll be back. We'll talk soon. Hope everybody has a blessed new year. Hope it didn't depress you. I just was really angry. That's one subject that just really pisses me off. That it even exists. And at the amount it exists is what bothers me. If it was a minuscule amount of people doing it, that's one thing. But the numbers are just disgusting and enormous. So likely we all know somebody that's some type of child predator. I know I do. And that child predator knows that I know. And that's always been a problem for that person, because I've never kept my mouth shut around them. Nor did I ever, ever okay any kids around this person. So, if you know somebody doing that, step up and say something. All right, everybody. Happy New Year's. Everybody, peace and love.